Okay, everybody, I'm going to talk today about, I want to call it one of Excel's best kept secrets. And it's one of the challenges that accountants come across every day. And that is what to do when you've got a lot of zeros in your workbook. It can be kind of messy, it can be a little bit too busy, and you'd like to hide them. And I've seen people try so many different techniques to get rid of them. You know, you can put in if this data is coming from somewhere else, you can put an if statement in, and instead of a zero, you're going to display nothing or null. You can use conditional formatting, which can be kind of hard to maintain. But actually, there's a very, very simple way of doing it, and it's kind of a hidden gem within Excel, and that's Excel's native custom number formatting, right? So let me just show you what it looks like. So let's say I pick all of this and I'm going to give it a custom number format, right? And again, what's nice about it, I can just make it really wide, it doesn't matter. I'm going to right click, I'm going to go format cells, and when I get here, I've got all these options, but then this one here called custom. And within the list of custom, I've got like all these options. And it's quite hard to kind of read the syntax here, but basically the general syntax is what I see in front of the semicolon on the left is what it's going to look like for a positive. Then what after that semicolon is going to be what it looks like for a negative, right? So in this one, it's going to have a bracket around it for the negative. In this one, potentially, the negative is going to be red. You can see I've got that red bracket there. And then there's so many different ones. But the nice thing about it is you can actually pick one of these. I'm trying to find a simple one. And you can then come into this part here where it says type. It's giving you my sample now. Let's just say we pick this one. It's going to semicolon, it's going to put minuses as a negative. And if I add a second semicolon at the end here, then my syntax says this is what it must look like for a positive, which is basically just have the comma for thousands, no decimals. For a negative, it's going to be minus, and then the last semicolon says, what are you going to put for a zero? And I've left that blank. Okay, and let's try. If I input that, all my zeros disappear. What happens if I put a minus? Goes with a bracket. Okay, so that's really easy, and it's nice because I can make it really broad. I can put it over lots and lots of cells, and I don't have to worry about it. It's just a simple number formatting, and it's not going to mess up anything else like a conditional format might. Now, one of the things that you may notice is see how everything's very hard right aligned. That can tend to be not so nice. And if you think about it, if I put Excel's most famous comma formatting, see how that's like stepped off a little bit off the right-hand cell. That's normally quite nice. So what if I wanted to do that? Well, let's try and just redo these number formats. Okay, again, I'm just going really broad, doesn't matter. Go back to that format cell. Now, the one that I've just done will appear at the bottom. Okay, it didn't appear right at the bottom, but it appeared over here. Okay, so actually, if I want to, in the old days, you had to use this special character here, which was underscore close round bracket, in order to get it to step from the right. Now you can just use the space. So just a space like that will tell it to step off the right. And of course, with this bracket already, my negative has already stepped off the right. So let's see what happens. I come back up. Now you see how it's nicely stepped off the rights there. Perfect. Very, very nice number formatting. Very, very simple to use. And actually, in my consulting all over the world, I actually quite rarely see it like this. So, you know, it's a tip that you can use immediately, and it'll get you noticed straight away. All right, so that's how to deal with your standardized numbers. But what about something like a date? Here's a simple, and I see this all the time. Here's a whole lot of employees and the last increase date. And it looks like everybody got an increase, right? At first glance. But when I look at it, employee 9 got their last increase in 1900, and employee 14 got their last increase in 1900. And I see this all the time. It's very difficult to identify that those two people didn't get an increase. And the reason is when you get the data coming out of a database or something like that, it's going to come with a zero. it had nothing entered, but when Excel read that null from the database, it saw it as a 0. And that is really difficult to read if you're trying to analyze your data. So what can we do? We can use the same idea. You can use that number format. Now let's think. We say, well, you know, Gareth, you're talking about dates here now, not numbers. But if we go to that process, we have back and look through the custom side of it, you see it had dates listed here. This one says year dash month dash day. Okay, that's the one I was using, right? Now, what if I just do the same thing? I put a semicolon, so that's what it's a positive date. Put another semicolon, that means do nothing for the negative date. And then I put a third semicolon. No, is it? I think no, just the 2. So in between those is a negative, and then that second semicolon tells me what I'm going to do for the 0, and I'm saying leave it blank. And you can see it just drops those 2 out. I've still got all my date formats, but I've got nothing for the zeros. Much easier to read as someone in the financial planning and analysis space. If you can eliminate those zeros, especially in dates, it's so much easier to read. So that's how you do it. You go to your custom formatting and you manipulate it using that syntax, and you're going to get a much better result. Okay, that's it for today.